the L.A. district attorney in the West, basically praising a judge in the last hour for ruling that new evidence in the Menendez brothers' case of alleged abuse would not have changed any juror's mind when they were on trial for the murder of their parents decades ago. Listen to this.
That is how deficient, how meritless, how baseless the evidence that has been presented by the Menendez brothers has been in this habeas motion.
Here's the TLDR. Here's the bottom line on this. This means that of the paths that the Menendez brothers had, perhaps to freedom, there's only one left. This shuts one of the doors. That means there's only one left. Remember, they've been behind bars for 3 decades for killing their parents back in 1989. So this new trial, that is off the table. Parole rejected. The board denied both of the brothers parole at their first hearing last month. They could go back before the board again, maybe in 18 months. But then there's the Newsom of it all, the Gavin Newsom of it all, the California governor who could weigh in at any time, really, and potentially grant the brothers clemency. He has not indicated whether he would do that or not. Let me bring in Liz Croytz, who is joining us now. So this is not altogether shocking. I think that some legal observers had suggested that this may be how the outcome would go. But the bottom line is this, that the Menendez brothers only really have this one path to potential freedom left.
Yeah, Hallie, I mean, this was really considered the long shot path, but it still was the path that some of the family members had pointed to when they were denied their parole last month at their hearing, saying, look, we still have this habeas corpus petition that we're working through the legal system on. This would have basically been a new trial, but the judge coming out and basically smacking down their request. The brothers' attorneys had submitted 2 new pieces of evidence here. One was around testimony from Roy Rossello, a former Menudo band member who had gone up on a Peacock documentary saying that he also was molested by Jose Menendez, the brother's father, who was at the time the head of RCA Records. And the other was a letter that Erik had allegedly sent to his cousin just months before the murders, in which he detailed being scared of his father. He said, quote, "I've been trying to avoid Dad. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in," referring to his father coming into his bedroom. But the judge here really slapped it down, saying the introduction of either of these 2 pieces of evidence would not have resulted in the trial court giving an imperfect self-defense instruction, because neither of these pieces of evidence demonstrate the brothers experienced a fear of imminent peril, basically saying that this is not compelling enough evidence to have changed the outcome of a jury, Hallie.
And just to be clear, when it comes to Governor Gavin Newsom, he has played his cards pretty close to the vest on this one, yeah?
Yeah, so right now they could continue to appeal to the governor for clemency, but Governor Newsom has really not indicated where he stands on this, and he certainly has not indicated that he's just going to come out tomorrow or next week and wave his wand and set them free, which he does have the power to do. If anything, he has suggested that he wants to see how this plays out in the legal process and system. So for the short term, the best chance they have would be to somehow convince Governor Newsom to grant them clemency. But in the long term, they do have that other path still with the parole process. They were denied parole their first time at a parole hearing last month, but the parole board said that they could come back before a parole board within 3 years. And if they have good behavior, basically they don't get caught using contraband cell phones over the next year, they could be back in front of a parole board within 18 months, Hallie.
Liz Croytz, thank you very much for that reporting and for continuing to stay on top of that beat. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.